458. Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. My name is Christal Jordan, and I am the editor-in-chief for Lennox and Parker. And I am coming to you today with a special report. We are doing a special report on 10 facts that you may not know about the P. Diddy case, because there's so much going on, so much conversation, so many rumors, so many memes, so many Instagram posts. And so we thought it was important to bring to our viewers the actual facts that we have thus far in the case. As you all can probably imagine, this is still early in the case. And so everything that we are stating here today are facts that have been allegedly made against Sean P. Diddy Combs. They are not factual because he has not been tried in a court of law as of yet. But these things are allegations that have been brought against him in a court of law. And we're going to have a conversation about just the actual facts as we know them as of today, right? And so today is Thursday, September 19th. I have a strong suspicion that this case is going to continue to evolve on a daily, maybe even hourly basis. But we wanted to make sure that we brought 10 facts to you that we know are actually happening. And as things continue to progress in the case, we'll continue to share and just make sure that our viewers and our listeners and readers have the most factual information that we can possibly offer at this time. With that being said, I want to welcome you all to this conversation. Again, as you all know, at Lennox and Parker, we stand for Black excellence. And for me, this is a very sober moment to have to do this report because Sean Combs, we've known him as Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, even Love, which he kind of changed his name to a few years ago, has been a figure in not just Black culture, but pop culture for years. His brand has been one of hard work and excellence, and definitely work hard, play hard. But to see his impact on the culture potentially be destroyed by his own shortcomings and weaknesses is definitely not something that we want to celebrate or make light of. This is very serious. There are a lot of victims in this case, a lot of people that have been hurt, a lot of people that will be affected by this case outside of just Diddy and the artists that and the women that he was in relationship with. As we all know, he has relationships. His long-standing celebrity relationships have been something that have been a part of pop culture for years. I can remember numerous campaigns with him. We know that every year he and Jay-Z host Rock Nation brunch together. That is a long-standing relationship that a lot of people will be really sad to see potentially, come to an end. But that's something that has been looked forward to every year during the Grammys. The Rock Nation brunch is probably one of the most elite parties that you can get into, that people, if you are somebody in the music industry, you definitely want to be at the Rock Nation brunch. And sad to say that this will not be the case. It wasn't the case this year, and it doesn't look like this is going to be the case moving forward for 2025. So I want to get into this list. Like I said, we put together 10 facts about this case that you may not know. And so the first thing is this case is not this is not a state case at this point. This is a federal case. A lot of people think that this is Cassie versus Diddy or a particular victim versus Diddy. But the reality is, as you may have seen from that screenshot, this is the United States of America versus Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. So at this point, it is a federal case. It is not one particular victim against Sean Combs. This is a culmination of reports, information, definitely things that were seized when his home, when a warrant and arrest was made for his home, and evidence found in that raid, all have come together for this this suit from the federal government. And so that's a very different thing that even a state case. If you know anything about criminal cases, a lot of times it will be a particular state or it could be a particular defendant. But this is, again, like I said, the United States of America. And I managed to get a copy of this sealed indictment that was filed last week. And it does read: for decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of multifaceted business empire that he had led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Sean Combs, the defendant, operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global. Included among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits brand, a marketing agency, a television network, and a media company. So again, this is a criminal case at this point. I know after the video was released a few months ago with showing him in a very disgusting physical assault against Cassie Ventura, his former girlfriend. A lot of people were wondering, would that lead to a criminal case? At the time, we did not know. We knew that Cassie's lawsuit was settled in a civil case. She was awarded $30 million. But at that time, we weren't sure if the situation and the criminal activity was outdated. A lot of people felt like it was outdated or would not be used in a criminal case. But it appears that the federal government had been collecting information and evidence all this time. And this at this point is a criminal case. And so we wanted to make sure that is the first point of information that is important to understand. This is not a civil case. This is not a state case. This is a federal case that has with the criminal, is a criminal investigation. So I want to read a little bit more from that, just so that you guys can hear a little bit more about what the federal government is alleging, based on information that they seized in that raid. And also, after talking to victims a little later in this broadcast, we're going to go into detail on some of the other lawsuits that have been filed against P. Diddy from individuals. But for right now, I want to go back and read a little bit more from this lawsuit, criminal lawsuit filed by the federal government. It says, from at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise or Enterprise. Members and associates of Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The Combs Enterprise, including its leadership, its members, and its associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by Title 18 United States Code, Section 1961. That is a group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. The Combs Enterprise consisted of Sean Combs, the defendant entities were within the Combs business, including but not limited to, and then it goes into the other businesses. So that kind of explains exactly what allegations are being brought up in this criminal suit. And that is definitely a lot more serious than a state case, or if this was an actual person or defendant, and he was he was the defendant, and there was a person that was the prosecutor. By it being the United States of America and it being a federal case is definitely a lot different than that. So moving on into that, we do want to talk about the fact that Diddy was denied bail initially. He showed up with $50 million after putting his home up, the same home that was raided. He put that home up and for bail, and he was expecting to get out on bail. I think most people probably watching this case expected him to get out on bail, but he was the judge denied bail. It says, in Tuesday's indictment, prosecutors accused Combs of running a sprawling criminal operation aimed at satisfying his need for sexual gratification. The charges detailed freak-offs in which Combs and others would allegedly ply victims with drugs and then coerce them into having sex with male sex workers, as well as alleged acts of violence and intimidation to keep victims silent. For decades, Sean Combs abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct, prosecutors wrote in this indictment. To do so, Combs relied on his employees, resources, and the influence of his multifaceted businesses and an empire that he led and controlled. The offer to post a $50 million bail, they offered to post the $50 million bail, submit to house arrest with GPS monitoring, and to even sell his private jet. Because as you guys know, a lot of people were speculating that he could be a flight risk because he did own a private jet. And that was something that people were concerned about after Cassie's lawsuit was filed and, the information came out. He was seen leaving the country. That later was dispelled as just a family vacation that he planned to take with his children. But that was brought up by his lawyer. His legal team did offer the court to sell the private jet and also post $50 million and to submit to a house arrest along with GPS monitoring. And even, I believe, so that was the initial offering. The judge denied that offering initially. The day, I think this was the day before yesterday, that was denied. And so his lawyers came up with a new bail package to try to persuade the judge to grant him bail. His lawyer submitted a new bail package on Wednesday, which was yesterday, that proposed to restrict all female visitors to his home who are not family members and limit all visitors to his Miami properties. The proposed bail package also included the $50 million bond signed by Combs, his mother, and several family members, surrender of his passport, home detention, weekly drug testing, and a visitor log to be submitted nightly to pretrial services. That was submitted on yesterday. And again, I think a lot of people held their breath, believing that he would be granted bail on this appeal. However, immediately after that appeal was submitted, the judge denied and said the package did not provide reasonable assurance that Combs would return to court. He said, my bigger concern deals with the danger of obstruction of justice and the danger of witness tampering. And so as a result of that, he will not be granted bail. I don't know what else they could potentially put together that could, potentially persuade a judge. But it sounds like in all of this, the judge in the court is concerned about the fact that because of all the years that he has been able to allegedly threaten witnesses, and witnesses have felt pressure not to come forward, that same pressure would be used at this point to tamper with the witnesses and also evidence. Another fact that came into play, we do know that one of the ladies that was in Dirty Money, Kalina Harper, actually came out in support of Diddy prior to, right after Dawn Richards, her bandmate, mentioned, came out with her lawsuit that became public. However, when they released the phone records, it was shown that the federal agents said that they have witnesses that they've interviewed over the past few months have universally expressed fear of Sean Combs. And the prosecutors claim that Diddy called his former artist, Kalina Harper, 54 times the day before she made a statement about the recent lawsuit they were named in. So with that evidence being presented, it's no surprise that his bail was denied, because if you're calling someone 54 times prior to them making a statement, knowing that they are being asked questions, because Dawn Richards, who was also part of Dirty Money, mentioned that Kalina witnessed some of the things that she alleged in her lawsuit. So that suggests that there was a lot of desperation and determination to get her to either withhold information or to support him in her statement, which she did. And so I think, like I said, all of those things together, the judge made a decision to deny bail. And so that means that Diddy will remain in jail until the trial starts, and he will remain there until a verdict has been reached. And if he is, he has pleaded not guilty. So if he is found not guilty, then he will not be released. He will be released at that time. If not, then he will begin to serve his sentence, whatever that may be. So number 10 was that this was a federal case and not a state case. Number 9 is that he did show up with the $50 million, which for most cases would definitely have sufficed for bail. But he was denied. Number 8 was that he was denied a second appeal to have the judge reconsider on that bail, and that was denied as well. Number 7 is that in this trial, because this trial will include evidence that was seized in his 2 homes and from businesses, and also recording devices, his phone. So there were recording devices in the homes because he allegedly there were activities happening within the home that were recorded, from parties, from events happening in the home. There's obviously allegedly the idea that there were sex parties happening, a lot of activity that was illegal, if there was drug use and there was sex trafficking. So what that tells us is that there could be a lot of other people pulled into this case and asked to testify, which is actually kind of scary because when you think about it, like I mentioned earlier, Diddy is not just a member of Black Hollywood. He is Hollywood, right? A lot of his connections. I mean, you cannot really name a Hollywood celebrity that he has not touched or been in the same. Well, I shouldn't say touched at this point, but that he hasn't been in connection with. I mean, anyone from Cameron Diaz to. I mean, you know, at some point he was doing a rock the vote campaign and, you know, promoting, you know, he was seen with Obama and different. I mean, there's not really a stone in Hollywood that he has not been a part of, or that's not overturned. And so it'll be interesting to see if, you know, some of his celebrity friends. I know people have mentioned some of the artists that he has worked with, obviously like Little Kim, Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z. You know, Jay-Z and Beyonce are people that a lot of you know, people are paying a lot of attention to see where their loyalty will fall. No names have necessarily been mentioned outside of the ones that have filed been mentioned in the lawsuits. And I would say that again, all of this is allegedly, so we want to make sure that we're constantly reminding our viewers that this is all alleged information. This is all one side of the story. We have not heard his yet. We will be able to hear his side of the story once the trial starts. However, Cassie's lawsuit named several people in the lawsuit that Don Richards filed. Usher was named, Leor Cohen, as people that witnessed him being physically violent, you know, towards Cassie. So it's definitely probable that some of these names that we all recognize and that are part of this Hollywood circle that he's in will be brought into court and could possibly have to testify. And potentially, because this lawsuit, as you heard earlier, is against him and his employees and resources, there's the possibility, and you'll hear as I read some of the issues later in these lawsuits, that there may be some additional people that are named in the lawsuit that could be called to testify and could also potentially be brought to trial themselves. This is all premature. We're just getting started the trial. We don't even have a date as of yet. But all of this is quite possible considering the nature of his celebrity and his influence, and the fact that they have tapes and video from parties at his home that we know a lot of celebrities did frequent. So number 6 is that Diddy did not marry Dana Tran. A lot of speculation, a lot of blogs were reporting that he had gotten married to Dana Tran, who is the mother of his 2-year-old beautiful daughter, Love. That is not true. According to US Weekly, Tran has not publicly commented on Diddy's legal troubles. In March, we know the FBI raided the music mogul's home in Los Angeles and Miami. And so that all happened. And like I said, a lot of people were reporting that the two had gotten married in Hawaii, but that is not true. We did a little research and discovered that that is not the case. People were alleging that they had gotten married because she's has a high ranking, position in her country and could potentially be a witness specifically in terms of sex trafficking. And again, all this is allegedly, but they are not married. And so that is not the case. And she has not made any statements in support of Diddy as of yet. Number 5 is that in addition to all of this, we know that networks and other entertainment companies are cashing in on this. This is probably going to be, I believe this is like the biggest story since OJ. And so I did learn today that ID and IPC, in association with the Rolling Stones, is in works on a Diddy docuseries. So that is, it is interesting that a lot of companies have come together and are in production, currently in production, as all these details, come together and roll out for public consumption. Leading true crime network Investigation Discovery announced today that it has expanded its partnership with Emmy-nominated Maxine Productions and is in production on a docu-series exploring the rise and influence of Sean Diddy Combs and the allegations of violent behavior and illegal activity that have trailed the music mogul. As accounts of sexual assault, abusive behaviors, and other disturbing claims continue to surface, the doc traces the story of this self-proclaimed bad boy, unraveling allegations of a pattern of depravity. The multi-part docuseries is set to premiere in 2025 on ID and Max. This project is, like I said, this is in association with the Rolling Stones, which is really, really crazy that is the case, because Rolling Stone, I think, is one of the magazines that celebrated Diddy, one of the many magazines that have celebrated him and chronicled his career over decades. So to see that they are now part of a docuseries kind of unearthing this is just, you know, I don't want to say that it's sad, because I believe that the truth needs to prevail. And I also believe that media should always remain objective and should not pick sides. But it's interesting to see how quickly one can be removed from grace, right? Falls from grace happen very quickly and suddenly. And that is definitely the case here. Number 4 is that Netflix has also partnered on a docuseries loosely kind of patterned after Surviving R. Kelly, which would be Surviving Diddy. I don't believe that's the official title. But what is so startling about this particular series is that it's being executive produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. If you guys, anyone that has been watching Instagram over the past few months knows that 50 Cent has been trolling Diddy for months, mercilessly. And so he is in bed with Netflix to produce a Sean Combs documentary. Netflix, the headline this is earlier this year in May. Headlines read, Netflix buys Sean Diddy Combs documentary after a bidding war. So this is an official documentary that Netflix has the right to put out. Docuseries about the allegations of sexual abuse, rape, and sex trafficking against rapper Sean Diddy Combs has landed at Netflix months after its producer, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, started teasing the project, and posters for a fake documentary started making rounds on social media. So you guys can definitely look forward to seeing more of that. I'm sure 50 will be definitely talking about it. He definitely did post and tease on his Instagram page with that earlier this year. He said that Jackson confirmed in a tweet the streamer has won the bidding war for a series he first announced in December, but added that if more victims keep coming out, I'm going to need more episodes. G Unit Film and Television, the production company owned by Jackson, confirmed last year a still unnamed documentary project was in the works and would focus on the allegations against Combs, who has had at least 4 women accuse him of rapes, abuse, sexual trafficking, and other crimes in the last 6 months. And of course, this was back in May, so more victims have come out since then. Jackson teased the project on X by posting a video of former rapper Mark Curry, who was signed to Combs' Bad Boy Records, talking about partying in clubs and saying Combs would spike bottles of champagne with something to make the girls real slippery. The announcement that a documentary will land on Netflix came on the same day a former model sued Combs for allegedly drugging and sexually assaulting her in 2003. And this is an ongoing process. And since, like I said, since then, even more victims have come out. And so I am certain between Netflix and ID, there's probably going to be a lot of other. We know that TMZ has put together the downfall of Diddy as well. There are going to be a lot of projects probably coming out that will detail some of this. I've heard some shocking names that have been mentioned, but they're allegedly, so I don't want to mention them. Obviously, Mark Curry will probably be involved because we've heard him speaking out a lot. I know that people are wondering about all the different artists that were a part of Bad Boy, right? So we have Mary J. Blige early on. We have Faith Evans. There's Carl Thomas. There's 112. There are, I mean, it's an extremely long list of artists. Now, I do want to make sure that we note that Shine mentioned today. He was asked about his relationship with Diddy and what did he think about Diddy being arrested. And he mentioned that Sean P. Diddy Combs had ruined his life. If you all know anything about that story, you know that Shine went to prison in an incident that happened at a club with Diddy and J-Lo. Who would be interesting to see if J-Lo is anywhere near this. We also saw some news reports mention that her mother had spoken out against her ever getting back with Diddy several years ago. But Shine's comments were extremely hurtful, knowing that he did 10 years in jail. And allegedly, that was something that he took for Diddy at the time, and has since come out and gotten his life back together. But him making those statements, I want to read just a quote from that. People magazine reported today, former Bad Boy rapper Shine Barrow breaks silence after Diddy's arrest, saying that he destroyed my life. His quote is, "When I was an 18-year-old kid, just wanting to do nothing other than make my mother proud and make Belize proud and be recognized for my talent and take over the world, I was defending him, and he turned around and called witnesses to testify against me. He pretty much sent me to prison. Let's not lose sight of what the cold hard facts are. This is not someone who I vacationed with and someone who I enjoyed this great intimate relationship of brotherhood. This is someone who destroyed my life and who I forgave and who I moved on for the better interest of Belize because he was in position at that time to give scholarships and maybe to invest. I would not deny attempting to bring the investment to Belize and bring the contributions to education." And so what that says to me is that he made a sacrifice with his own life and for the good of his country and potentially his family and others. And it's just interesting how, you know, karma does not forget and the tables will always turn. With that being said, I want to move on to point 3, which is there are currently 9 lawsuits against Diddy. I want to quickly go through those so we all understand what those are. Now, these are, again, in addition to the criminal lawsuit filed by the United States of America, the federal government. These lawsuits are personal. I am not sure if these are civil. I'm assuming most of these are civil suits. But the first one we know was by Cassie Ventura, who was Diddy's girlfriend at the time that most of this took place. She had been away from him for a few years before her lawsuit was filed. Cassie, legal name Cassandra Ventura, 38 years old, popularly known as Cassie, filed a lawsuit against Diddy in November 2023. The two had been in relationship for 11 years. Diddy signed her to his record label when she was 19 and he was 37. Now, if you read that lawsuit or you're aware of that lawsuit, she goes into detail, in extreme detail, on how he groomed her from age 19 and actually started a relationship with her by gaining her trust. And then this relationship quickly went from being, just a friend and a confidant to being a boyfriend and ultimately someone that she alleges controlled her life. Diddy came back and quickly settled that lawsuit. So that lawsuit is no longer active. And she did gain a $30 million settlement for that. Second lawsuit is Liz Gardner. In a 22-page lawsuit, Liz Gardner claimed that Diddy and singer Aaron Hall, let me see here. Diddy and singer Aaron Hall took turns raping her in 1990 when she was 16 years old. She alleged that she met the pair at an album release event for the group Jodeci. And the lawsuit said that Diddy then invited her and her friend to Hall's apartment for an after party. She claimed that's where Diddy forced her to have sex with him. And while she was getting dressed after that, she alleges that Aaron Hall barged into the room, pinned her down, and raped her. That lawsuit is particularly unsettling because there have been mentions of it prior to her coming out. There are a lot of content that about Aaron Hall, and that's just disturbing. And also specifically because she was underage. She was 16 years old. I don't think any of us are unaware of the fact that a lot of the things that happened were with women that were of age and potentially consenting adults. But this particular lawsuit, and again, with Liz Gardner, she was at the time that these allegations took place, 16 years old, which makes it a totally different type of lawsuit. Next, we have Joy Dickerson Neil, who alleges in her lawsuit that she was raped and that he used revenge videos against her. In November 2023, NBC News reported that Joy Dickerson Neil filed a lawsuit that alleged Diddy drugged and sexually assaulted her while she was a student at university in 1991. She also claimed that he recorded the act and let others watch it. In her complaint, Dickerson Neil alleged she reluctantly agreed to go on a date with him on January 3rd while she was on a break from school. She claims while on that date, Diddy drugged her, resulting in her being in a physical state where she could not independently stand or walk. She also claims Combs videotaped the assault and distributed the tape to friends in the music industry. She also alleged that that was something that made her, obviously was embarrassing. And when he tried to approach her later, she was hesitant to deny him because of just being embarrassed and afraid that he would continue to show people and publicize the tape. There is another lawsuit by a Jane Doe, and what that means is that the person does not want their identity revealed. At this point, the court is still able to accept the lawsuit because there are so many other victims and so many other people that have come up, but this person does not want their identity revealed, probably due to their own safety. In this lawsuit, an anonymous woman claims that she was the victim of gang raping at the hands of Diddy and Harve Pierre, the former president of Diddy's Bad Boy Records. She claims she was only 17 when the alleged incident took place back in 2003. According to the complaint, she met Pierre at a lounge, who proceeded to inform her that he was best friends with the rapper. And she further claims Diddy asked her to escort him, Pierre, and a third person, Diddy, to a private jet, from a private jet to a studio in New York City. She agreed and went on a jet that took her to a studio. While there, she claimed she was gang raped by Diddy and a third party who gave her alcohol and drugs. The suit claims that after Diddy was done, he watched as the third party forced himself onto her. After that, she alleges that Harve Pierre also raped her and violently made her give him oral sex, resulting in her choking and struggling to breathe. These are very difficult, so I'm going to make sure that I put on this. I apologize if anyone's watching and is offended or sensitive to the language, but it's difficult to read, it's difficult to hear, and so I just want to make sure I say that this content is definitely difficult to listen to. And so if you're sensitive to that, then I definitely understand you not being able to continue with the broadcast. The next lawsuit is by Rodney Jones. Rodney Jones' lawsuit includes allegations of sex trafficking parties in his 105-page lawsuit against Diddy. Rodney Little Rod Jones claims that Diddy and his associates run an illegal racketeering enterprise. He also said he was subjected to unwanted advances by associates of Diddy at his direction and forced to engage in sexual acts with escorts hired by Diddy. Jones also alleged that for more than a year, Diddy sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened him. He claims to have footage of Diddy and those close to him engaging in illegal activities. It also named Daphne Joy, 50 Cent's ex, and the mother of one of his children as one of the sex workers. Now, for anyone listening or watching 50's page, you know that 50 immediately jumped on this information and went after not only Diddy, but also his child's mother, Daphne Joy, titling her a sex worker. I think since then he's apologized, but it's just very interesting that she's also named in this lawsuit. I also want to make mention, allegedly, again, this is all alleged. There's information that is coming out. Most of us know that Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime girlfriend and mother of three of his children, Christian and his twins, um, she was supposed to have been working on a book. According to numerous sources, I just had one sent to me a few hours ago, that book or that journal, not necessarily a book, but it's more like a journal, is now in the hands of several people. And in that, allegedly, in that notebook or in that journal, there is information that suggests that she had a relationship with Tupac Shakur. And as a result of that relationship, and Diddy being jealous over that relationship, and Diddy suggesting, again, this is all alleged. So we don't know if this is true. This is just a source that was sent to me, said that according to this journal of hers, Diddy knew that she had been intimate with Pac, and he suggested the three of them be together. Pac refused, and that basically made Diddy go on a basically like try to bring him down. And this is before the first incident where Pac was robbed. And this continued and was supposedly added fuel to the ongoing fire that was already happening between Bad Boy, which consisted of Diddy and at that point the rapper B.I.G., and also Death Row, which included Tupac Shakur. So all this is alleged, but it could draw some, definitely could connect some dots with there being a reason for the vitriol against Tupac, because there are allegations that Diddy was involved in his murder. There are also allegations that Diddy, we know that that was mentioned in Cassie's lawsuit, that he attacked Kid Cudi because that was a good friend of hers that she was spending time with. There are allegations that he has violently threatened J. Cole. All this information is out, and again, we have not heard Diddy's side, so I just want to continue to remind everyone that this is alleged. But that information about Tupac and Kim Porter, if true, definitely adds a different spin to the story of Tupac and Diddy potentially being involved in his murder. Next lawsuit, they're still here. It's 9 total that we have as of today. Christal McKinney, a former model, claimed to have met Diddy at a restaurant during Men's Fashion Week in 2003. She alleged he invited her to his studio, but when she showed up, she found him smoking marijuana with several other men. After smoking herself, she claims to have been led to the bathroom where Diddy forced her to perform oral sex on him. McKinney says she later came to understand that marijuana was laced with other substances and claimed he threatened to blackball her in the fashion industry if she told anyone. Next lawsuit is April Lampros, who alleges that he had a coercive relationship with her. April filed her claim in May of this year. In it, she accused the rapper of battery, sexual assault, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and committing a crime of violence motivated by gender. In court documents, it is alleged that the two met in 1994 when she was a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. She was also an intern at Arista Records, the parent company of Diddy's record label. She claimed that after being forced to drink alcohol, Diddy took her to a hotel and had sex with her despite her protests, resulting in her passing out. Next lawsuit is from Derek Lee Cardello Smith, who was allegedly supposed to be receiving a $100 million payout. In his claim, Cardello Smith alleges that Diddy drugged and sexually assaulted him at a party 30 years ago. It alleges the pair met while he was working at a restaurant in Detroit in 1997. And after drinking alcohol and smoking, they are said to have had sex with a group of women. He claimed he felt Diddy's hands touching him, and then he was given a drink. Then the drink made him pass out. When he woke up, Diddy was having sex with a woman and allegedly told him, "I did this to you as well." Next is the lawsuit from Don Richard, who was a member of Dirty Money, very close to Diddy for numerous years, on his show Making the Band, member Danny Kane, and then later Dirty Money. Richard says she regularly saw Diddy hurl items, including food, laptops, and studio equipment, at people in fits of rage. According to the complaint, Richard once witnessed Don's late ex, Kim Porter, leaving the studio crying with visible facial injuries. She also claimed to have been present at parties where Diddy would perform sexual acts on girls who were plied with drugs and alcohol and appeared underage. That's again allegedly. Richard stated that he would allegedly say things like, "This is a buffet, enjoy yourself," you know, mentioning the drugs, noting the drugs. She also claimed that she was concerned for her own well-being. She claims that he subjected her to gender-motivated violence. She was sexually harassed and assaulted by Diddy and is suing him for sexual battery, sex trafficking, sexual assault, and false imprisonment. After leaving Danny Kane, Richard did go on to be in a group with Diddy and Kalina Harper titled Dirty Money. And like I mentioned earlier, Kalina does refute all of these claims. She said she never witnessed any of this, but she also allows that her experience could have been very different than Don's. Kalina was married, and she claims that whenever she was around, she didn't see any of these things. However, Don's lawsuit suggests Kalina was there. So at this point, one of them is not telling the truth. We just don't know which one. And so that is the final lawsuit. The second, our second point in today's broadcast of 10 things that you need to know about the Diddy case as of today, is that mental health experts are concerned about Diddy not necessarily being mentally prepared to deal with the prison sentence. According to TMZ, John Fuller, a consultant known for his high-profile clients, he actually prepared Martha Stewart for her stay in jail. I know there was such a job, but I would assume that there would need to be, because you have a lot of celebrities that do time in jail. He said that the rap mogul may not be suicidal in his early days, but he's concerned that Diddy's mental health may take a decline over time, especially if the trial ends up not going in his favor. And I would assume if the trial ends up taking, a really, really long period of time, that is an issue. I think a lot of people are concerned about his mental health. Also, he is, people have alleged that he is definitely addicted to drugs or alcohol, and in prison he would not have the ability to do a medical withdrawal. So that has also been one of the concerns that has been voiced about him. Diddy is currently being held at MDC Brooklyn, a federal detention facility in New York, and he has been, according to TMZ, he's being kept in a special housing unit away from the general population. They believe that he could likely be a target because of his celebrity stature and the nature of the allegations against him. Now, the number one point is that the situation at MDC, or the Metropolitan Detention Center, has gotten really bad, and it is one that judges have refused to send nonviolent inmates to. In a statement by the U.S. District Attorney or U.S. District Judge Gary Brown, he said that chaos reigns along with uncontrollable violence. The detention center has housed a number of high-profile inmates in recent years, including Sam Bankman-Fried, R. Kelly, and Ghislaine Maxwell. They are kept in segregated units outside of the general population. Still, the conditions are horrid across the facility, according to interviews with more than half a dozen of the detainees. The facility came under spotlight in the winter of 2019 when a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a full week during a brutal cold snap. Conditions for detainees continued to deteriorate during COVID-19 when they were subjected to 24-hour lockdowns. In 2021, the Justice Department shut down the city's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, 2 years after the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein's death was considered a suicide. So last point I want to leave with you all is that Diddy's trial will more than likely not start until 2025. So he's going to have to remain at this prison until the trial starts, which will not be, in the next coming months. His lawyer says, quote, I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try to get his case as trial to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try to minimize the amount of time he spends in the very, very difficult and what I believe to be inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. He says he hopes his client is able to be transferred to a jail in Essex County in New Jersey because it's an easier place to deal with. I think it's better for a person being housed there, and it's easier to get access to him. So last point in that, he's being held there in the same prison as R. Kelly. This is all very just telling and just very sad, honestly, for Black Hollywood and Hollywood period, to think of two of the biggest musical giants in Black music being held in this facility. R. Kelly is there indefinitely, and Diddy will definitely remain there until his trial. So anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed learning a little bit about the facts. We did a lot of research to make sure that we brought you all facts as much as we could. Again, all of the information mentioned in this broadcast is alleged. So I want to make sure that we stress that. And also, there are going to be things continuing to come out as the days go forward, with potentially more information from the federal government. As of today, we have this lawsuit that's around 14 pages. But again, this is something that they've been working on for quite a while. So this is not an individual. This is the United States of America versus Sean Combs. Definitely a sad case of events for a career filled with so many accolades, so many highlights. But most importantly, there are a lot of victims here who deserve to be heard, and both sides deserve to be heard, and a court of law will decide who comes out the victor. This has been Christal Jordan, editor-in-chief for Lennox and Parker. Thank you guys for watching today. Thank you for watching via YouTube, or if you're on the site, we appreciate you. Make sure that you leave your comments and leave your feelings and thoughts in the comments below. And we look forward to bringing you more on this case as we continue to move forward. Wishing you all a brilliant week, and to continue to be successful and productive. And hopefully we'll have some resolvement to this case in the next coming months. Bye-bye.